What's going on, guys? Welcome back to episode number 4 of the Eight Figure Podcast, where we talk about all things scaling to eight figures from a group of guys that have actually done it. And for today's episode, we have a very special guest. It's actually one of our OG clients from way back in the day that we helped scale all the way to $100,000 months. And now he's doing over $1 million per month with his offer right now in 2025 and absolutely crushing it. We figured it would be a fun way to bring guests on and have them share their experience and everything they've learned to scale to eight figures. So, with that in mind, guys, we've got Alex Richard in the house. Alex, how you doing, bro? How you feeling?
Good, Joel. Feeling good. Thank you for the great intro. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. So, Alex, just to kind of just jump right in, what are all the biggest takeaways? And I want you to just start rattling off anything that comes to mind, and then we can kind of free flow from there. How do you hit $1 million a month from what you've learned from your perspective?
Well, obviously, as people would assume, there's many different things, different factors, but I think having for us a solid paid ad system, or just something that's very systematic and that you can predictable, I guess is a good word for lead generation. And for us, having a solid sales team and sales leadership was a really, really big part of it to make our ads profitable, not just profitable, but to be able to outspend a lot of the other competitors, as well as having a good leadership team to make sure that we can handle scale and attract the right people. So, many different ways we could go deeper into that, but I think those have been three of the big things that helped us do it.
Alex, give us the sauce, man. Everything you just said, you could argue is also everything you're gonna need to get to seven figures, right? So what is it that separates a seven-figure entrepreneur or business from a eight-figure business? Because you just mentioned the offer, the brand, the sales team. All those are things that you're gonna need anyway to seven figures, right?
Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
separates seven and eight figures?
I guess
For
we can go
us,
one by one. Like, what's the paid? How does the paid ads look different between seven and eight figures? Why don't we start there?
yeah. So on our end, the paid ads from just being fully transparent, the paid ads from 7 to 8 figures were like almost identical. We didn't change much. We just created a little bit more ads. So like when we hit, when we were doing like 100K months, we only advertise in Quebec to the French market. So it's a smaller market. It's more of a blue ocean market for what we were doing. So we didn't have much ad fatigue. And we actually had a couple ads, like one ad that we ran for a year, and it produced like 1.5 million, and we never touched anything to that ad. When the cost per lead started going up on that campaign, I was like, oh shit, what do I do now? Like, is it going to be was that the end? Like you hear people talking about ad fatigue, and sometimes it's like a limited market, but that was just my first experience seeing it. And then the only thing we had to do was create a couple extra ads. It was extremely simple. It is one angle per campaign. I run Advantage Plus for the most part with one angle, a couple different creatives, and I just do different angles. So I would do that, and instead of running one angle, we maybe had like 4 to 5 when we were doing $1 million months, and then we scaled past that further. Now we have a little bit more, but that would have been the biggest thing. So I think it's nice in a way, because if you're expecting a super complicated answer, the good news is it's actually pretty simple to go from the 7 to 8 figure mark.
What about the actual ad spend?
Ad spend, when
That's
we
got to
were
be different between seven and eight figures.
Yeah, of course. So we would increase the ad spend. Obviously, we would grow the sales team, and then we'd increase the ad spend accordingly to be able to get more appointments. Because like going from 100K a month, we maybe had at the time, my partner did a lot of closing, but let's say when we were doing like 200K a month, we might have had two closers, and they were both doing like 100K each. Now, when we scaled to 1 million, I think when we started doing 1 million, we were spending like 100 or like Yeah, 150,000 or like 200,000 a month, and it was mainly just the extra spend came from adding the angles. So for our ad account, it was like at first we had one angle or like one campaign that was like $500 a day. If I saw I was crushing it, I would just dupe the campaign instead of playing with the campaign. I would dupe it. So now we had 500, 500, so 1,000. And that worked really well. And then I'd do a different angle, 500. I eventually started just doing $1,000 per campaign. And that was it. So yeah, super simple
But how much
structure.
were you actually spending?
Yeah, like 150K a month.
Okay, okay. Got it.
Yeah, we're doing like 150 now. We did 1.75 last month, so just under the 2 million mark. And I found that we're currently changing. We're testing a new approach for our campaigns where it's going to be not as simple, but it's just because I saw that as we scale from 150 to 250 a month, this was bringing us from like the 1.2 million a month to 1.75. We saw that coming out with new ads would cannibalize the other ad campaigns, and it would start competing against each other in our market, that is, because it's smaller. So instead, I'm testing a new method. We actually hired an agency. I always used to run the ads, but this is a little bit more time consuming. But the goal is to be, from what I understand, to be more like e-com, where we're going to have like a creative testing campaign, a scaling campaign. And well, those are like the main two buckets, is to have a campaign specifically for creative testing to then find the winners and put them into scaling. Because when I had them for each campaign, it seemed to affect a lot when we were adding new ones and preventing us from scale. So it's a hypothesis, but right now I'm hoping that new structure will help us get to the next level.
What sort of population are you working with in Quebec? And like, is your offer, is it like really broad market or is it narrow?
No, it's broad. Yeah, very, very like, let's say biz op market. And Quebec as a whole is like 8 million population. When I'm running broad targeting, like open targeting, Meta will say that we have like a 2 to 4 million reach potential, whether that be extremely accurate or not. That's what it is when I do fully broad, and I'm doing exclusively French. So 90% of Quebec is French. So it should be all 8 million, but Meta says like 2 to 4.
Nice. Have you thought about, this is kind of random. Have you thought, since it's already in French, have you thought about advertising it to France? I mean, I'm sure there'd be some like little translation stuff, but like opening up the market there.
Yeah, we did. We are considering it a lot more right now, just because before, the reason we didn't do it is we try to always take the path of least resistance. And with France, the thing is that one, the market is a little bit different, not that much, but we rely a lot on our sales team, and we would have just had to hire a sales team in a different time zone and run that as well. So it never has been like on the top of the list, because it's only last month that it's the first time last month that I saw that, okay, as we increase ad spend, we're actually now seeing a decrease in performance. So now it's, higher on the to-do list. But before that, we're just like, well, let's continue as far as we can go. And once we see that we start hitting some boundaries, then we'll start optimizing and maybe expanding.
I'm curious to get your perspective on this, because we've had some campaigns that we run in different languages. How much of a competitive edge do you think it's giving you, the fact that you're running it in a non-English language?
Huge. It's honestly huge. Because we've tested English, we were going to expand, and our offer, like, the thing is, in Quebec, at the time when we started, it's a crypto. I think I mentioned a crypto offer, but people were not even able to find like how to open a crypto wallet online. It was really hard for them to get just the most basic information that the English market, it's so accessible on YouTube, and then it's become so saturated, not so saturated, but there's a lot of competition and different offers, and they have like their USP. And when we tried in the English market, cost per lead and everything was okay, but I noticed that without a proper setter, like I was trying to delegate it from the rip, and it was hard because we weren't getting the top setters in the world, considering that it was technically a new company. And with newer setters who are still good, mind you, but we were not able to maintain them long enough to get proper conversions. It could have been profitable, but if I were to go ahead and launch in English, my plan when we're going to do it will be, instead of doing VSL like we are now, I would like to switch it to low ticket offer, just so that as a low ticket, because they pay, they're going to consume more of our content, and then I can kind of indoctrinate them into our way of thinking, so that the sales process is easier. So for us, and to recap that, in Quebec, it was really easy to have like okay marketing, okay sales, and crush it. In English, not that it's impossible, it's just you either have to spend a lot more time on your marketing or be really good at sales, and most likely be doing it yourself before you get that credibility and get the ball rolling. Because just from zero, it's people, they shop around more, they're looking around more. If you have no content out there, they're like just going to go to the competitor next door that has 500 testimonials and a lot of content online, right? So that's what I saw when we tried it.
I've got a bit of a, I think this question is going to help a lot of our audience. So you mentioned it's a more biz-oppy offer, right? And you've obviously got a decently sized sales team for you to be able to do the point where you're doing 1.7 a month, right? How do you handle culture? Or maybe what are some of the things that the little tips, tricks, and little details that keep the energy high when you're selling to a biz op audience, right? Because closers, as you know, Alex, aren't big fans of selling to broke people, particularly in the biz op space, right? So what are some of the tricks that you do with your sales team to keep their energy up and their excitement up selling a biz op offer?
I would say, so this is where my partner in the business shines. I was talking to Joel about that before this podcast, but people love working with him. He creates a really good relationship with everybody on the team. So not only do they want to work for money, but they also don't, like, they look up to he's also named Alex. So they look up to other Alex, and they don't want to let him down per se. So that really helps. But I think obviously one of the big things is that we seem to pay more than a lot of people out there, at least in our market. In the US market, maybe less, it would depend. But we put everything on very strict performance. So we have like the classic base, 10% or so. But then it's in the different tiers that if you hit so many closes, you get so bonus, and you get so, as you scale up. And I find by having like 95% of our team is all performance driven, it gets people together that they kind of just want to compete against each other. And we've tried more of a base and salaries and stuff like that, and it's attracted the absolute worst people. So 100% you need to have like very, very, very strong performance incentivized comp. And then on top of that, I think it's we have daily meetings. So every single day we have a call with them. We make sure that they're doing the things that they need to do and that they're not slacking off. Because it was probably my biggest mistake as well when I was stuck at, like, I wouldn't say stuck. I just stayed there for like 2 months and then I did something else. But I was at 40K a month, and my sales team, I could have been doing over 100, but I didn't do daily meetings. And without the daily meetings, there is so much stuff that I thought was great that, like, once I looked into it, I was like, wow, this is really bad. So it keeps people in check. It creates culture, it creates good, healthy competition. And it's a funny thing is we have like, I make these little, on Canva, I made these little like leadership podiums, or not leadership, but the little podiums, and I put the team, and I kind of make like a funny character for every person in the team. And then I always send it, and they get on top, and they just love that. They'll be asking me at night, like, hey, send me the podium. And it makes it fun, So you try to turn it, you gamify it, you have fun with it. And overall, like, yes, every closer wants to have the perfect, the perfect leads that are super sharp people. But for us, the fact that they can make more money than they can with our competitor who, they might have that super sharp lead, but that super sharp lead probably takes 2 to 3 times longer to close. So us, it's like instant money and they make good money. So, all of that together, I think it makes it that we keep them happy.
Alex, so you talked about French being a competitive advantage. Like we are huge believers in going after red markets, but finding ways to make them blue. Sergio calls it the splitting of the red ocean. And so with that in mind, I know that you tried a bunch of different offers before landing on this one. How important do you believe is finding that unique angle or unique offer in these more saturated markets? Because there's also crypto offers obviously crushing it in the US, but they seem to be doing way more complex things in order to make them work. For example, there's one called Decentralized Masters. I don't actually know exactly how much they're doing, but they're having to like make very broad economic fear-based messaging to just suck people in. And it has to be very abstract at the top before they even start to talk about crypto. I'm not even sure if they talk about crypto till deep into the VSL. So
No.
Isaac could verify that because Isaac studied every single VSL on the
Yeah,
planet.
halfway through the VSL is when you even realize it's the whole thing's about crypto. Up until then, it's like economy sucks, the world's ending, everyone you know and love is going to die. Crypto
Yeah.
is the solution halfway through. Yeah,
It is. I'm
yeah,
just kidding.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it is.
but
No.
if you buy it is. So Alex, like in America, obviously you could run crypto offers, but then you have to be extremely talented at marketing, copywriting, things like that, sales in order to make it work. What would you say? How important is that edge?
When you say the edge, I mean, do you mean like taking that offer and put, because it really depends. I think that for me as the operator, like what I do is I try to find an offer that already works, and then I jump in and apply the tactics that I know allow a business to scale. And in my position, I think the offer made a tremendous difference. But at the same time, like if I'm starting from scratch and I have no skills in crypto or like trade, because we do crypto trading as well, not just investing, which allows it to be more of a mass market offer. Then I have to learn crypto trading if I'm brand new to it. So then it's like hard to pinpoint that offer that or like to be a part of it. So if you're the expert,
I guess what I'm saying, like to really let me take a step back. One of the things that we believe, me, Sergio, Isaac, is that picking the offer is like the 80-20. Picking the right offer can be the difference between scaling to hundreds of thousands of dollars a month very quickly and being plateaued. With that in mind, if you took the same exact, like, I'm curious to know how much do you think picking the right offer, putting it in French, makes a difference? Obviously, you have to be skilled. Obviously, you need to be able to attract good talent and keep good talent. Obviously, you need to have money for ads. But assuming you have all that, if we make a clone of you going after another offer, how much of a difference did you picking an offer in the French market make?
I think it does make a massive difference. It definitely does make a massive difference. I mean, like I said, right, we tried the English market, and I don't want somebody to be listening to that to be like, oh, well, I'm not in the most competitive or like blue ocean niche, so I gotta change because mine is difficult. Because I think that it is going to be hard no matter what. Like at one point you have to, just do what you got to do, and I think you can make it. But when you do choose that right offer, it's kind of like instead of swimming against the current, you're just gliding down, and things are pretty effortless and things are easy. And the nicest thing about that, when you're going from like 100K to 1 million a month, is that you're able to make mistakes and they don't cost you nearly as much as when you're in a super competitive market. And I think that, like, if it's your first time navigating it from 100K to 1 million a month, being able to have that leniency towards those mistakes, for a lot of people, it helps them go through that make it or break it phase and push through. And I think we were lucky. Obviously, it's like when preparation meets opportunity is luck, but I think at the same time that really helped. And now I feel like I'd be able to do it again. But for somebody who's doing it for the first time, yeah, you don't want to take the most competitive offer in the world and try to go there. I think you can also just put that talent to a better offer and test different offers and see what makes the most sense.
And we believe like finding that competitive advantage doesn't have like it could be by having a very unique marketing strategy. It could be by changing the entire demographic that you go after. For example, instead of targeting the male market, you could target the female market with the exact same offer. So there's unique ways of getting that edge and splitting the red ocean, but I was curious to hear from you how important you think it was. So
Yeah, no, 100%. And like you just said, if you do a different pocket of the market that isn't as saturated, I think that's amazing. Like 100%, that would be my way of thinking as well. At least at first, I think Hermosi kind of talks about that, where you start with like the very niche, and then when you're crushing that, then you expand a little bit into, I think he was talking about like hairdressers, and then you start doing like the salons, and then you start doing a licensing, or doing that way, it allows you to get the ball rolling and then expand bigger and bigger, because once you get the ball rolling and you have good income, you have more testimonials, it's a lot easier to go to that harder, more competitive niche rather than just starting there. So it gets that initial cash flow coming in.
What are your plans in terms of funnel types? I know you said maybe moving into the American market with the low ticket. Do you have any plans for like webinar funnels or low ticket funnels in French? Because that seems to be a trend that a lot of people are moving towards these days, is looking to liquidate. I mean, it sounds like right now, even with a VSL, like the economics of your funnel are great. Like, I don't know what your ROAS is, but like, do you have any plans for any of these liquidating type funnels?
Yeah. Yeah. For me, that's one of the next steps. I do want to I would like to do an ebook funnel or like a real book, actually, not only for having it, like, I think it's going to help to diversify our funnel, and it'll probably be able to get us some different clients or liquidate ad spend that we might not have been able to do with the current VSL funnel. But I also think that the book is a big branding push that is going to also help kind of just overall. And one of the things that we did to expand and to start, I also try to figure out how can we monetize our client more, increase the LTV. So we recently just purchased a crypto exchange. So now when people buy and sell crypto, they'll be doing it through our platform. So we're kind of using the coaching to push them through. And it's like, hey, well, the best place to do it is through our crypto exchange. And that way, with the low ticket funnel, I think that even people who aren't going to be buying the program, I'll have the book that's going to show all of the same fundamental principles as I would in the paid course. I'm going to have it'll be a low ticket, we'll test different price points, but it'll be like under $100. And that is going to teach them on how to buy crypto and everything on the exchange, and kind of get to a point where to see if they would like extra help. And that would, lead them into into our higher ticket offer. But I think that will be a big push for branding. So it'll be great for that. It'll get us a lot of clients on the exchange. And that will hopefully funnel all up to the high ticket offer too.
What does your current pricing structure look like? Do you just have a high ticket? Do you have like a mid ticket? Any downsells? What does it currently look like?
We only have a high ticket. The initial price of entry is $5,750. So I guess you could call that mid ticket to some people. It's $5,750.
We would consider that. I think we consider anything over 5 high tickets. So
So we just made the cut.
Yeah, we just made the cut.
Yeah. So we got $5,750 on the front end. That is the only way that you could enter like the paid ecosystem as of now. And that's a 4-month offer. Once they go through that 4-month offer, a lot of them will upgrade into our back-end offer that, as of right now, it's 12 months for 10,000. But we're most likely going to be adjusting that in the near future to probably make it shorter. I think that's is gonna help. But yeah, that's the current price structure.
Do you have any plans for downsells? For example, with some of our offers that are mass market, we this is something we just started rolling out, but we built out a second sales team just for downsells. Um, and it's starting to go really well. It's obviously still needs to get dialed in, but any unqualified leads, any lead that's unqualified and is what we like to call a tier 3 lead, gets sent to the second sales team to downsell.
What price point would you have typically for that to be able to make the economics work with the sales team?
I wouldn't look at it like price point. I would look at it like, what's your goal? Our goal really is to offset our ad spend 1-to-1. So you spend 100 grand, you make back 100 grand. So we do have price points depending on the offer, right? Typically it's anywhere from like $500 to $2,000 or less, because otherwise you're getting to the point where it's more of a higher ticket offer, right? But
Yeah.
what I've found actually works best is,
Sergio's not saying less than 500. He's saying less than 2K. 500,
yeah,
anywhere between 500 to 2K.
Yeah.
exactly. But honestly, we've given our closers a lot of flexibility because those are not necessarily clients that we are going to be working with in the future, which sounds crazy, but the goal really is just to offset what you spend. So we might sell it for 1,000 or we might sell it for 1,500, and there'll be some details here and there that are a bit different, but it might be 2,000, right? Is typically the best downsells are sub 2,000, max 2,500.
We have this is a hack through fan basis. We have a access to Zip financing, and they approve anyone with a 470 credit score. So pretty much anyone in the world,
Even though they'll tell you it's not everyone.
They say we don't approve everyone, but everyone with a 470 credit score which is everyone. Like,
Yeah.
how do you get lower than a 470? Isaac, do you know?
Why would I know?
I don't know. I
I
feel
don't
like
know,
Isaac has the high. There's no doubt Isaac has the highest IQ out of all of us here. So I just ask Isaac the hard questions. But anyways, we try to with Zip you can approve up to 2K. So that's why the 2K.
Yeah. Well, I think it could definitely be something that we'd be open to testing. No, we have not done it yet. But maybe the low ticket that I was saying that we wanted to sell, maybe that course, I would put it at a higher price point, more like that $500 to $1,500. And then the ebook would be the only thing that's like the really low ticket, and maybe that could be like an upsell of the ebook when you buy it on the funnel. But unless that would be two different things. If it's two different things, we probably wouldn't do it anytime soon, at least. But I think it could be a good option for the team to have something like that for sure.
Yeah, we found the best time to roll it out is after your acquisition cost rises, because you're in a given market where you're spending a good amount, right? And you said
Yeah.
only like 8 million people or something. So you could probably get away with it for now, but at scale, maybe it is something to look into. I have a question for you that this is a selfish question, okay? Alex, is that cool?
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially for guys like us who have rolled out multiple different companies, multiple different offers. Like Joel said earlier, what we found is the offer matters more than anything else, really. It's like one of the biggest levers you could pull is finding the right offer. And one of the things I've observed with a lot of marketers is they tend to force the offer to work because they think they're right, right? Marketers have this prima donna effect. It's like, I'm always right, when the reality is the market's always the one who's right. So you mentioned earlier you tried multiple different offers. What was that process or maybe framework that you had when you were testing a couple different offers? How did you decide?
The way I tested offers was probably not the most sophisticated way as you guys are doing now. It was mainly because I was acting as an operator, kind of like, I guess, like a fractional CMO role in different businesses. And I would work with different clients that I could close. And some of them I would just be like, you don't have the infrastructure to work together, or the offer doesn't make sense. But I learned that through having different, like, again, whether you call it fractional CMO or not, type relationships with different clients. I saw that some of the work I would put with client A is the same work that I put in with client B. And the biggest difference, it's the offer, and it would just really scale to such an aggressive pace that it made no sense for me to continue trying to work with client B, C, D, and E, or try to even find more clients. Because when I started working on the crypto offer, it took off so much that it's like every time I tried to do something else, I felt like my time was split in a way that it was, I would just always make more money with the crypto offer because it was so much stronger than the others. So that's how I came to that conclusion. And at a certain point, I also had a offer that was like a coaching, helping coaches scale type thing. And we hit $1 million in a month with that business too. When I launched that, then I shut it down. But I had a bunch of clients where I was coaching.
Question: was it in French or English?
Yes, yeah, it's French.
Because that market is extremely competitive in the U.
But the way we did it is like a very interesting. It was a physical event that pushed over $1 million in sales. So we did ads to saying that we're promoting an event. I had a setter calling people and selling tickets to the event. We brought everybody
on
to
stage.
the event. And we didn't pitch on stage. What we did is we booked, so everybody during their like to receive their kind of lanyard or whatever, they had to book a call, which was like an implementation call on how you're going to apply what you learned during the event. So we had that as a mandatory thing for every single person. So yes, we spoke about the offer on stage, but everybody was already booked and we sold it as an implementation call. And yeah, of course, some people canceled and everything. And we had a setter like confirm those appointments. So that was some work, but it worked really well. We did over $1 million in sales from that event
That's
alone.
amazing. I would say like that, that kind of proves the concept of splitting the red ocean. It's like, look, you're still going to go after a red ocean, but you're going to do it with a unique angle. And it doesn't have to be completely changing your offer. The offer was still coaching coaches, right? But
the coaches,
Exactly. But the way that you did it was unique.
Yeah. And it made it possible for us. I think if we just would have done, paid ads to like VSL funnel or whatever, it would definitely not have been a $1 million month as we launched. So yeah, that was good. But when I did that, I had all these coaching clients, and I think of somebody specific in mind is that they had it was to help people train their new dogs, and it worked. And I helped them with their copy. I built like their funnel with them and everything, and great people. But like the offer, you were just, man, if you have an offer trying to scale for that, not to say that it's not possible, but the price point, it's hard to charge extremely big money for somebody to train their dog like a puppy that, and that was just really going against the current, so against the tide. So that was my biggest.
And I assume they were in Quebec as well, right?
Yeah, I was in Quebec.
Out of the 8 million people in Quebec, how many want to make more money? I'd say
exactly
a lot of them. Whereas, like, how many want to train their dog?
Yeah,
their new dog.
And it was profitable, by the way. Like it worked.
Bro, to me, we got to get into Quebec. We can run some crappy offers in Quebec and just print.
Yeah, it's a great place to be, man. But no, it's all to say, like, obviously the offer makes a massive difference, and once you have a good product to back it up, I think that just kind of snowballs into people talking about it, and then now we're market leader in pretty much. Yeah, in the French market for Quebec, by far, nobody else really comes close in terms of growth for us.
Sergio, Isaac, any final thoughts?
No, I think it's been a great podcast. I think we should.
Yeah, it was great.
Wrap it up here.
Well, Alex, thank you so much for hopping on. This was fun.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, guys, if you made it until the end of this podcast, first things first, make sure to like the video. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And last but not least, there's 2 ways that you can work with us. First, if you're doing over 10K a month, then yes, you have to be doing over 10K per month. Otherwise, we will DQ you. We have our $100,000 a month mastermind. It's actually the same that Alex went through in order to scale all the way to $100,000 a month. And so far, we've helped 134 entrepreneurs hit that revenue mark, Alex being one of them. If you want to apply to join that, click the link below. And if you're doing over 100K a month and you're looking to scale all the way to 8 figures, we actually don't have an offer for you. We don't have a mastermind. We don't have a coaching program, but what we do have is the ability to create a customized solution for you based on what you need. So there's going to be a link for you to apply below if you're doing over 100K a month, and we'll be able to speak with you and see what you actually need help with. We're not going to give you a copy and paste solution. If you need help with ads, maybe we could help you with ads. If you need help with recruiting and training sales reps, we could help you with that. If you want one-on-one coaching from any of us, we can set that up. Again, if there's a good fit, we'll make a customized solution for you. So if you're doing over 100K a month, make sure to apply below, and we'll see you guys on the next video.